We are here with Rabbi Robbins of Neve Shalom. The session is called Who Will Be at Peace? Jewish Breathwork, Meditation and Spiritual Kavanot to open a channel to the Tefillot and listening to the Shofar. So just briefly, Rabbi Robbins.
I'll give you a 5-minute warning when it's 5 minutes before ending. Oh.
Perfect time to give a 5-minute warning.
So Rabbi Robbins is a graduate of AJRCA. She's a rabbi, cantor,
twice over.
Wow, artist, Reiki practitioner, and author. She's the co-founder of Neve Shalom with her husband, Rabbi Steve Robbins, as well as on the faculty of the Academy for Jewish Religion, and she taught Jewish meditation at the University of Judaism. She's a member of the Cantors Assembly and the board of the Sandra Catholic Community of Eighton. She sees herself as a late bloomer who discovered skills and passion as she surrendered to her alchemic process. As a child of Holocaust survivors and a caregiver to her husband, who has both chronic and acute medical challenges, she has waded through darkness but always found light and expansion. She is a contributing columnist and blogger for the Jewish Journal, and author of Spiritual Surgery, a journey of healing for mind, body, and spirit. She's mom to Rachel, Jesse, and Naomi, grandma to Ethan, who will become bar mitzvah this November, and she can be found at expandedspirit.org. Without further ado, Rabbi Robbins.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Deep breath. I want to know who everybody is here first. So let's identify each other. And
I am Ira Rosenfeld. Many know me as Rabbi Ira. I was blessed to study with your husband and to have been in classes with you at AJR a couple of years ago. I've since started the Orachad, somewhat similar to your situation where my wife, the cantor, and I started a little group called Orachad, and we do a homeschool program, and that's a good part of my work these days.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Stone. I am going to my 3rd year at Ziegler. I am not a 2nd career student, I'm a 4th career student, so so there's lots of interesting stuff in the trunk that I'm carrying along with me.
Dennis Linson, rabbi at Temple Judea, Laguna Hills, graduate of Ziegler. Pleased to be here today.
me too.
I'm Shana Leon. I'm a graduate of AJRCA. Eva was my amazing classmate. We graduated together. I'm rabbi of Congregation Yer Tamid in San Francisco. I'm native to San Francisco, but I live here, and I fly up and down every week on Wednesday and come home most Saturday evenings. So catching a deep breath is a rarity, so I'm here as much for myself as anything. I work with a beautiful elderly community that deals with all of the issues that are in the other rooms, so this is the rest of it. And I deal with this all the time. And mostly my greatest privilege is that not quite 2 years ago, Rabbi Eva and Rabbi Steve married me and my husband in their backyard of their gorgeous home. So wherever Eva is, I am.
Hi, I'm Shana Galko. I graduated from JTS just this past May, and am now the 2nd rabbi at Temple Aliyah.
I'm Jason Weiner. I'm rabbi at Cedar Sinai Medical Center and also a Reiki practitioner.
I'm Adam Klingfeld, Rabbi Temple Beth Am in the city. Happy to be with you.
Me too. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to share something that all of us as clergy, I think, need to prepare ourselves to do our work. So this is both for us, but I teach this to my people. I use this on the high holidays. It's a way to set a tone and to get them into a very, very different place, an inner place, and connected to God in a way that makes it possible to hear some of the hard stuff, to face some of the hard stuff. So if this is for you, we're going to experience it as if you're learning it for yourself, but it'll be something you can share with your people, I believe. And let me say from the outset that the best way to teach this, and what we do as a ritual, is we put on the talis together before the service starts. The ritual of putting on the tali, and we invite people, we bring plenty, and we encourage people who've never worn them, particularly women, to experiment and to try it. So almost everybody in the room is putting on a talis at the same time. But what we do is we hold it, and we do a meditation, and I'll go through a little bit of that with you, so that there's a connection to being wrapped and what it could represent spiritually. But that's the perfect time for those of you who might want to use this work to teach it to others. That's the best time to teach it. Because once they have it, you can reconnect to it, right, throughout the tefillot. When there's a moment in the tefillah where you want to create something spiritual. Our people come for so many reasons, right? Some of them come just purely out of guilt, to hedge their bets, to reconnect with the community, to share something with their family, to have that moment that they don't have all year, to hear those sounds and those chants and those melodies that they only hear once a year. There's so many different reasons why people come. We don't even know. If I was in a room and it was manageable, I would start by having people tell me, express, why are you here? What are you looking for? So my approach is always to keep it much more internal, much more personal, because all the other stuff is there. It's all laying in the room. They're going to hear it. They're going to read it. Some of it is just going to hit them rationally. Some of it may hit them physically. Jason and I do Reiki, and that's about a healing touch, but it's also about vibration and being attuned to what is going on around you. And if we're lucky, they're going to have some of that, the visceral, physical response. A lot of it will be in the head. But what we want to touch, my belief, is spirit. It's the soul. It's that place that so many of our people are cut off on a daily basis. It happens to all of us, even in our work. I'm also a caregiver because my husband is medically challenged. So, and you deal with many pulls in the hospital. So there are things in our lives that just snap us out of ourselves, that remove us from our own inner being, from our own sense of wholeness. It just tears us apart. And everybody who comes to the service has had some of that somewhere in the year, if not almost every day. And I only mention this word once, the word politics, but it's very hard not to be affected by what's going on around us. The stress and the chaos is tremendous. And you have to believe that those people who are coming are searching for a way to get some calm, some peace, ultimately to have hope. Because I think people are feeling pretty devastated about the future. And as a child of Holocaust survivors, I have experienced more fear than I ever had in my life. Even though some of it is intracellular. So there is so much that we face on a daily and a weekly basis. And what I want to give you is what I call the gift that keeps on giving. Because if you have this tool, you can use it when you are stressed, when you feel alone, when you feel frightened, when you're about to do something you've never done before, when you're taking a risk, when you have to face, opposition at home or on your board. This is a tool that will help keep you grounded and remind you that you're not alone. So let me pass out these papers. I'll take And it is a diagram, and I'm gonna talk about it because I know breathing seems so simple. We do it all the time, but you know what? The breathing that we do, it's shallow. It contributes to stress. It doesn't calm us. It doesn't connect us. It doesn't unify us. It doesn't bring wholeness. So I want to give you something and show you how it's connected to Judaism. I call this Jewish breathing. And first of all, it's based on the chapter 2, verse 7, which you're all familiar with it. You know, after the creation of the world, and God creates a human being, and what I said in the big room is that this is our birthday. This is a celebration of our birth. So it's one thing, you know, to sing, you know, happy birthday, world. And I'm using the Beatles now, actually, for my, instead of doing the Harad Olam, I'm doing, I just blanked on the name of the song.
You say it's your birthday?
No.
Oh, I thought it's birthday.
Because it's such an, and I have one verse in Hebrew. It's wonderful. But you know what? That's larger. That's larger than us. It's larger than life. What about the birth of the human being? What about the rebirthing of ourselves? What about touching that place in each person sitting there so they can feel renewed? It's about that renewal. Because when they leave, they have 10 days in which they've got their homework. Right? We're hoping that everybody uses those 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to really do the searching and the healing and the correcting and the you know, I'm sorry and the forgiveness. It is a process. And we hope that when they come in Yom Kippur, that they've done that. But they have to begin somewhere. And this is a beginning of beginnings, because this is the essence of the human being. This is the essence of finding a connection with God, knowing that every time we take a breath, it's what my husband calls divine CPR. And, you know, I use it and I give him credit, divine CPR, because that's what it is. All day long we're being sustained, right? And it is an incredible gift, but we don't think about it. We do it very quickly, and we don't pay attention. So this is a different way to breathe. This is a way, first of all, to connect to what? That moment when God blows into the nostrils of the human being. Feeling that moment, touching, feeling the kiss of the divine, feeling that inspiration. So let's take a look at this so it makes sense to you. The one thing I will say is I make it more personal, and you all can get this very easily. I turn ruach into ruchi, so it's not just ruach, it's my ruach. Nafshi, it's not just nefesh, it's my life force. Nishmati, my spirit. So I didn't write it down because I didn't know if you wanted to use it or share it with your people. It gets confusing, I think, for other people. It may not be for people who are very familiar with Hebrew, but a lot of Jews are not. So this is based on the soul. It is based on the three parts of the personal soul: the mind, the body, and the spirit. So the mind is ruach. It is the in-breath. Ruach it's wind, right? It's God's spirit. It is that what gets blown in is a connection to God, because when God blows into us, some of God comes into us. When God blows into each human being, and because God is so expansive and Ein Sof, beyond end or beginning, it's unending what God has to give. So there's a part of God for everybody, and everybody gets that spark. So ruach, wind, spirit. If you imagine as this breath, that the other important word on that side is receive. So take away the notion to take. Get rid of it. It's not about taking a breath. It's about receiving it. The moment you teach that, you have given them a gift. You've also focused on a Jewish value, because receiving gets us in touch with what? Gratitude. So this Jewish breathing is both a process, but it's built in the foundations of what we believe Jewishly. And what do we believe? We believe that we get a gift. We receive that. We don't take it. So the concept of receiving, of inspiration or inspire, which is what happens, because that breath that we receive fills our consciousness. And it fills if you breathe really appropriately, it fills every cell of your body. And it goes down, down deep, and massages your organs, and it fills your hands, your legs, and your feet. The kind of breathing that we do on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, is not really true healing breath. Because it's just this is a way to really create a sense of wholeness, of unifying every part of you. So we begin with the in-breath, which is the ruach, it is the mind. And I connected it to teshuvah, right? The Unatana Tokef really directs us and reminds us that we do have some way to massage the decree. All of us have a way, even when things happen, and they do. 15 years ago, my husband got a shingles episode, and his nerves have been damaged permanently. He's been dealing with pain for 15 years. He didn't bring that on. He didn't do anything to deserve that. It happened. And he's had to learn to live with it, as I've had to live with it, and all the downfall, the dominoes effect, right? You get something, and then you take something for it, and then that causes something else, and you take something for that, and then there are side effects, and then you're aging in the middle of everything. He started out at 60, he's now 75. And, things constantly happen. He had 2 shoulders replaced, and knees replaced. I mean, a life is... Sometimes, believe it or not, it feels like Job-esque, given what he has to deal with. And he was a very prominent rabbi, and he was a very alive, inspiring, incredible rabbi who was the co-founder of AJR, CA. He founded the Lehrer House Judaica in Berkeley. He taught, had a thriving congregation. So his professional life was ripped out from him. That's an extreme case that somebody had to deal with, which was beyond his control. But what is in our control, and there are many people sitting in your congregation who are dealing with shit, right? Whether it's cancer, or it's divorce, or financial issues, or children that they don't get along with, or someone's getting married and they're not Jewish, and it's created an issue. There is the life stuff that circles around us, and then there's the stuff that's in our inner circle. And all our people have something that they're coping with, even if it's just getting older. And if you read that book and many of the others out there, and I've actually done workshops on aging, it's challenging. It truly is challenging. And for me, one of the best words to describe what I've had to cope with as a caregiver and as someone who's aging is grief. And you can be sure that there are many people in your community, you deal with it a lot, who are dealing with grief. And grief runs the gamut. It's not just your conventional someone's died. And I've been doing a lot of funerals, and I am so grateful when I'm there to officiate for someone who's dying in their 80s or 90s and they've lived a long, full life. But there are a lot of people who aren't. You know, we say goodbye to parts of our life, to parts of our physicality, to, you know, Mechaye HaMeitim is something that both Steve and I teach in a way that is really about not the noun, the dead, but the verb, the time. And the concept, which I think everyone can relate to when they walk into that room. When you get past the celebration of the new year and you get down to Judgment Day, people are dealing with these issues of loss and grief, things that they've done that they wish they could undo. Those are painful things that they're dealing with. So things do happen, and we don't have control over them. What we have control over is what the Unatana Tokev really teaches us, which I've really added into this breathing technique, right? Teshuvah, tefillah, utzedakah. So the ruach, the mind, the consciousness is where teshuvah sits, because it's really about awareness, right? Doing that list of the places where we've really lost our way, what those sins are, the hate, the missing the mark. That's part of an awareness, and figuring out how we're going to change it and who we're going to apologize to, the process. So that's the in-breath. The out-breath is nefesh, because it's life force. So what we get filled with is ruach, the spirit. What we give back comes from our physicality. So it is the return. We receive in return. And what we talk about in Judaism as well is partnership. The great partnership, right? Receiving oxygen and giving back carbon dioxide is truly the mastermind of creation, right? We are getting this gift, and we are giving it back to nature, to the trees, to the plants, so that they can be green and grow. So it's this incredible concept of shutafim that is built into this model. However, it's also expiration. One of the great themes that we have to face from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, especially on Yom Kippur, because we teach it as the day of our dying. It is really a rehearsal. This is the scary part, because what we have to remind people is that one day we will return our last breath. It's going to happen. Some of us will be there to watch somebody do it. Some of us will do it ourselves. I always say we have an expiration date, but we don't know what it is. It's the other thing that Unatana teaches. We have no control over that. We know that the king and the judge is so beyond our reality. The transcendent is way beyond our reality. But one of the things that Zohar teaches, which I love, is that what we do in this world impacts the upper world. It is a concept, I think, really in its most simple form that we can share with our people. That who we are and how we behave really contributes to the overall impact of the divine couple, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu and Shekinah. So, describing this as really being able to face your death is really important. People, this is one of the things that people are afraid of. Probably the most terrifying thing for people is the thought of dying and leaving this world. And if we can help them to be able to see it as a transition, as a new journey, which I believe is what Judaism teaches. You know, we're body and soul. The body is buried and goes back to the earth, goes back to its source. But the soul continues. Judaism teaches that. It's not just a mystic concept. And so, how wonderful it would be to help our people through these days, which are terrifying and awesome. And when we come dressed in white, without our leather, not having eaten and not having drunk, really feeling the deprivation of the life that's torn out of us for that day, to get a sense of connection and comfort with it, or acceptance, or even just a sense of surrender. The ability to surrender. That's the out-breath. The key to this, and by the way, if you wanted to add another triangle on top, you would have a Magen David. I didn't put it on here. I didn't want to distract you. The most important part of this breathing is the pause. So it is a triangular breath, and the pause is where we take a moment to not need, desire anything beyond being fully present. It's the hardest part of this. People have a really hard time because they can maybe breathe for 5 seconds and return it for 5 seconds, and when they get to the to the pause, maybe a second or two, and there's anxiety. I've got to get my next breath. But that's the point. The point is to help them see they don't need to do that they can just stay in that place of divine connection, to really touch that spark, to really feel the presence of the Holy One. Because what is it that we all fear besides dying? Being alone. Ultimately, we are. When we leave this world, we leave it alone. And it really terrifies people, which is why they keep themselves so busy and have a lot of noise and activity. It's very hard to just sit still, to be quiet, to look inside. So this encourages that. It reminds us of our partnership. It reminds us of how to be content. So that's not content, content. And isn't that something everybody's coming for when they come on Yom Tov? They want to find some peace. They want to find that contentment. So this is Neshama, and we try to do each of these equally. Let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to share about. Any questions? I'll take a moment because it's a lot to take in. It seems very simple. Yes?
You mentioned at the point of introducing the Talit to people.
Yes.
Do you also have this page? And how do you hold the Talit and hold this page?
What I would do, my congregation has grown up on mysticism and spirituality because that's what my husband has always taught. And I'm very fortunate to have been one of his students. And I became a rabbi in 2015. So as he's had to kind of do less and less work, I have tried to share more and more. And I remember the first time, because I've always been the cantor, I've been the rabbi. And I remember the first year we had a really striking crisis. And I went to one of my teachers and I was just in a total panic. And he said, Eva, prepare as if you're doing this by yourself. And I said, I can't do that. I can't walk in his footsteps. Yes, you can. Terrified, I went home and planned whole service, not knowing whether I would be doing it or I'd be sharing it. And more, I'm doing it more alone, and he comes when he can. So as a result of that, I personally, what I would do is I would hand that out. I don't know if you guys hand out song sheets along with your prayer books, or is everything in the book? when you do services on high holidays. Because if you hand out anything, include that. And the first thing that you would do is introduce it. Let them look at it. Say the words. Have them practice it. And then they take the talit in their hand and they're ready to do it. So it's important for them to see it, and I would hand it out. Because I do songs, I vary the songs from year to year, so I always have handouts, so I do them in different colors. But this is something that I would give ahead of time. I would welcome them. I would just set it up in the simplest way of talking about trying to help them have a sense of Shalom, sense of wholeness, of mind, body, and spirit, and that this is, the most elemental way to touch the divine. They'll hear about it, they'll read about it, but we want them to feel it, and this is the way to feel it. So let them look at it, introduce the important words, because what you're going to do, and I'm going to do with you in just a few moments, is I am going to facilitate and lead you. So as the leader, as the Rabbi Kachazan, you would say those words, and they would hear them. So they're not repeating them, but they're hearing them in their mind. They're visualizing them in their mind's eye. So they're getting comfortable, and you just repeat it, and you get them to do it, and take some time. On Shabbos, people frequently have Torah study, before the service. So we have a kind of a meditative moment before the service. Take a few moments to get them in their bodies, because they, they're walking. But a lot of shuls, they're driving, and they're dealing with traffic, and they're dealing with the usual stressors. So give them a moment to really get inside and be in place and to be fully present. People teach mindfulness, and I don't know that it's totally different than meditation. We teach meditation, and we use this as the beginning. On my website, there's 4 meditations, but it builds on this as the basic component. It is the first step before you move to the next. And usually for me, the next step is the light, dealing with water. It's water. Because people have busy minds. And water is cleansing, it's purifying. So I lead from there to a concept of water meditation, so they can clear out whatever is going on there, so they can be much more alert. And then I go to light. And the most important one, and I didn't bring it because you guys all know it, is the vertical Yod He Vav. Yod He Vav. And are all of you familiar with that, the look of the body, the person, when you see the Yod He Vav? No? I'm sorry, I didn't bring I have one that's framed. So the other piece along with the breath is the name, because we talk about the name on Yom Tov. But what if we could really get people to see that it's part of them? And so one of the meditations that we've done, or that I do often, even before the talit, is the Yud, which is the head, if you haven't seen it. So it's quite remarkable. The Yud is the head. The He is the shoulders and the arms. The Vav is the torso. And then the other He, right, hips and legs and feet. So when you can find a way to internalize that name, you know that God is within you, that God is present with you. So again, you don't feel alone, especially on this journey of searching and facing difficulty and challenge and guilt and anger, disappointment, whatever it is you need to face between that image. And I call that the divine skeleton. We have a skeleton. There are bones that hold us up. but it is really the divine name, right? This divine skeleton that holds us up in a different kind of way. And that's the way we want to be held up during this process of Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. We want to be held together. We want to be held up. So those are different meditations that one can go to. You can hear them actually on my website because they're there. But this is the most basic, and this is the first step. So once you've done that with them, then they take talit in hand and they hold it. And I've used multiple images, but one of them is a swaddling cloth. You know how you take an infant and to keep them from flailing and crying, they get wrapped up tight. The talit can do the same thing for us. It can hold us together. That's one image. The other image is like a Band-Aid, right, that's covering the wounds that we have, the suturing that we hope to accomplish, right? We have wounds, and we want to suture them. We want to stitch them. And the tzitzit is like the threads of suturing. So this image of connecting to the breath, and then the talit, and then we all do the blessing together. You have already put them in a place before anything has begun, where they are present, where they feel a little more whole, where they feel a little more caressed, not alone. This is the goal. Anybody have a question about that?
Even if you have a community where the tradition is to wander in a staggered sort of way over the first hour and a half or so, could something like this be, once you've achieved sort of your peak attendance, and say that you wanted to take 20 minutes once everyone is there, and where there are certain people of the generation women particularly, who will not wear a talit.
Yes.
But what
virtual talit.
What could be a modification?
I would call it a virtual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So and to do like maybe a recentering in the middle of the service, say while the Torah is still out, or maybe something like that. I don't know. So we could modify time and place in the service to do something like this.
Well, there are two elements to this. One is to let them know ahead of time, just the way you do when you send out your notices. We're going to have Torah study 15 minutes before the service. And the people who really, really want to get this, you let them know what you're giving them, so they come a little bit early. And even if it's a small group, you set the stage. You set the stage. And then you revisit it later. For those who have already tasted it, you revisit it during the tefillot at certain places. For instance, I said this morning, v'yanuach, right? Mi yanuach. We just focus on that, right? In the Rosh Hashanah, the issue: how do we find peace versus agitation? Because all of us live with that one way or another. You can't cover everything. Every year you find another gem. And as I said, the difference is what? It's the chet and the ayin. So what does chet represent? It represents loving kindness, right? It's a giving. The ayin is an eye. And so what I describe it here is the wandering eye, looking for, needing, feeling empty. People can relate to that. So you take that basic concept, and then for a moment you go back to what? Close your eyes, go inward, and experience the breathing. Does that make sense? And then, of course, before the shofar. If you can get people to that place where they're really inside, they're going to hear the shofar in a very, very different way. And of course, the shofar, the blows represent so many different things. I mean, one way to teach the 4 levels is with Rambam's, process of teshuvah, and go through that and help them so that as they hear the 4 different steps, they can attach it to sort of a dedication to how to approach teshuvah during the week. Or the other thing that I connect with the shofar is the fact that it's very narrow and it opens up into a huge expanse. So I go to Psalm 118. And, in my narrowness, I'm searching, right, for the divine, and then what? I find God in the expanse. It's a great metaphor, and it's a great description for the shofar and its process and how to relate to it. So you can either identify with it, or you can find that the sound itself moves you in a way to direct you into a process. But yes, revisit it, and you can say, for those of you who weren't here this morning, let me just share for a few moments a way, and you do it simply. Maybe they won't even have that in front, or you leave it on the table, they'll pick it up when they come in, and they'll have it. They don't know what the hell it is, but they'll bring it in, right, as they come in with whatever else they bring in, and you say, I just want to take a moment. Don't, when my husband worked at Emmanuel, they had a matbea, and they could not veer off of it. Right? He worked with Barry Cohen, and it was what it was. I think people need a little more spontaneity, personally, and our services tend to be much more fluid. So if I want to take a moment, right, to stop before, and I'm the Chazan, before the Chazan does, a particular chanting, I'll set it up if Steve's not there, which he often does for me. One of the great partnerships that we developed is that as Rabbi, he would set up what I was about to chant. So it opened them up to a meaning, to a spiritual place. I do have to do that for myself now, but that's okay. So I take a moment and I have them look at it. And I want you to think about this Magen David, just half of the Magen David, because they can all relate to that. And just I want you to please touch that breath for one moment. Since today is the birthday of the human being, this is a day of your rebirth. We receive from God, we return to the universe and to the Holy One, if it's our last, and then we take a pause, we take a moment. We all deserve that moment. That took, 30 seconds, And then it gives the new people a chance. And then next day, guess what? They're more experienced, right? So, enough said. I want you guys to go there. Let's put our papers down. I am going to hold mine. And it's very important to be really relaxed. And that means for us, so that's more of a yoga stance. I'm going to ask you to open your palms in a receiving mode, to be receptive. This is a time of surrender. It's not clenching. It's not holding on. It's not holding on to your body. It's just letting your hands, your palms be open. Everything just sits comfortably in the chair. And close your eyes. Just for a moment, I want you to imagine that you're going to receive the breath of the Holy One. Just like Adam Kadmon, the template of the human being, Adam and Chava, after taking particles of dust and compacting them like Adam Yesodo, Me'afar. We are particles of dust. But then God blows into our nostrils and we receive the spark of the divine. A part of the Holy One is given to us as a gift. So the in-breath represents that gift. It is Ruach. It is the spirit and the wind of the Holy One that hovered over the waters at the birthing of the universe. At the moment of creation, God hovers. And the out-breath is a return. It is a gift back to God's creation, a sharing, a partnership. It is a gift that gives life to the trees and the plants and the grass. It makes the calming color of green fill the universe. That is the gift that you give. But it is also expiration. We never know when we are going to take our last breath. On these Yamim Noraim, we are faced with the day of birth, of conception, of celebration. But we also, by Yom Kippur, we face our death. It is a rehearsal. It is practice. And the pause, the third part of our triangle, the pause. This is being in the moment, reveling in the spark that is part of the gift. The unique, special gift of the Holy One. And each one of us gets something different. A different color, a different character. It is ours. So though we are made of particles of dust, we also have soul. We are body, we are mind, and we are spirit. And we come here today to create a sense of wholeness and unification between all aspects of our being, and to feel a oneness with the divine. That's what we search for on these high holy days, is to reconnect, to know we're not alone. So I want all of you to just breathe out a cleansing breath. Ruchi, receive the gift of life. Chai. Nafshi, return all of your life force back into the universe. Nishmati, my spirit, my soul, the gift that I have received on this rebirthing Rosh Hashanah days. All the gift of nurturance. Nafshi. Return. Expire. Nishmati. In gratitude for the gift of part of God's being. Let the Ruach fill every part of your body, every cell of your being. Nafshi. Being grateful to share, to give to all creation. Nishmati. That place of wholeness, of oneness. Ruchi. Place of consciousness, inspiration, innovation. Nafshi, physicality, rooted in the world, in Asiya. Nishmati, place of connection. Yesod. Not feeling alone anymore. Ruchi. Let it massage your organs. Fill your heart. Nafshi allows you to act and to do mitzvot, to be partner. Nishmati, unified, mind, body, and spirit, whole, resilient, able to face difficulty. Ruchi, directed to a place that might need healing somewhere in your body. Nafshi, return, ready to leave this world if one had to. Nishmati, contentment, satisfaction, the pause. You don't need anything. Ruach, consciousness. It is teshuvah. It is the process, the defining process of understanding and examining your ways and how to change them nafshi, tzedakah, physicality, offering, doing, helping others. Nishmati, tefillah, prayer, practice, opening ourselves up, surrendering to that which is much greater than we are. And we are reminded on this day of the sovereignty of the Holy One, of the ability to judge of the Holy One, to shepherd us, to pay attention to each one the way Moses paid attention to the little lost sheep. We matter. And Father and Mother, Kadosh Baruch Hu and Shekhinah, the great Mother and Father, the love, the grace that we receive during these days. Be in that incredible acceptance, strength, and hope. Hope. When you're ready, just come on back. Be in the room. I feel. I want to share just where you're at, what this means. Do you see how it can be used and how it can strengthen and fill you to help you in your work and the gift that it could be to others on their journey?
So much emphasis is put on what people are going to say at the high holidays. And an exercise like this is such a gift to let people know it's all right not to say.
You just reminded me of something I wanted to share. Thank you. Because when we do the Unatan topic, what are we talking about? We're talking about the great, vibrant sound of the shofar. But what is it we really want to hear? Kol Lamad Hakaf. This makes it possible to really hear the still, small sound. And I just share with you that this idea that the shofar at Sinai terrified the people, right? And they rejected God. But it was a group experience. It was communal. But Elijah's experience was individual. His moment of hearing that still small voice after looking everywhere, you know, in the fires, the waters, and it was individual. And that's what, so that's a beautiful way to talk about that piece in Unatan Tokef, that the silence makes it possible to really get inside, feel the inside, and really touch that divine presence. Thank you.
Quick question, sorry.
Yes.
Break.
Yes.
And with the Tali,
Yes.
like, what would you do next?
Oh, at that point, I'd have people take your talis in hand, hold it, caress it. Feel the tzitzit. Imagine that it is a Band-Aid. And then we're going to bandage and suture the wounds that you bring here with you. Feel it. This is the Rofeh, the healer. Wrapped in this talit today, you are wrapped in the arms of the Holy One, the Shekhinah. It is with you, that guides you every moment and every step. And then I have everybody take it. We do the blessings together. Now wrap yourself in your own swaddling cloth, in your bandages. We will contain you and hold you as you do your difficult work that we will face these coming days.
So great to have a room full of rabbis and no one had any comments. Give you a lot of credit. That's quite impressive.
Thank you so much for being here. We could do this.
Thank you.